Chairwoman Tennell,
Sure.
we have a quorum.
Fantastic. Are there any additions or corrections to the last meeting minutes? If not, I'll entertain a motion to approve them.
So moved.
I'll second. This is Kimberly Marshall.
Oh, yeah. Dean Ringo made the motion. Sorry.
I got it. Thanks, Dean.
Do we need, all approved, say aye.
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 All opposed, same sign. Minutes are approved. Director, it's all yours.
Okay, I would like to introduce Samuel Peterson. He is the Deputy Solicitor General with the Ohio Attorney General's Office, and he has represented us at the Ohio Supreme Court. I had previously indicated to you the status of that case, and I thought you would appreciate for him to give an update and answer any questions. Of course, I had also provided you the opinion previously. So, Sam, I'm turning it over to you.
Great, thank you. Thank you all for having me at the meeting here today. Like Linda said, I'm in the Solicitor General's office, Deputy Solicitor General, and I've worked on there are several cases involving Public Works Commission deed restricted properties, Clean Ohio Conservation Fund properties that have been at the Ohio Supreme Court. And as Linda circulated the decision, we got the first decision in one of those cases back at the end of February. This was the case I had argued January of 2021, and the decision came out February of 2022. So it took a little while, but good things are worth waiting for, and I'm happy to report that the majority opinion was nothing but good news for the Commission and for the Clean Ohio Conservation Fund program. As you may or may not recall, there were two different deed restrictions on these properties. The use restriction that in this case said you can only use property for green space, and then the transfer restriction that limited who could take possession of property that was purchased with Clean Ohio Conservation Funds. And then there was also a provision of the deed that said, here's what the remedies would be if a violation had occurred. And of course, a violation did occur. So some of these properties were transferred without your permission, without authorization from Linda. And we lost in the trial court. Trial court had said that these were unenforceable. Court of Appeals said that they were, and so the oil and gas companies and various other entities were challenging these. And they challenged the transfer restrictions specifically. They said even though it was unambiguous and plain that it shouldn't be enforced because it was against public policy. And then they said, and even if it could be enforced, the limits were getting money damages. You couldn't ever take the property back. And we prevailed on both points. The Ohio Supreme Court held that we could restrict the property, the transfer of the property, so that the party that gets the grant, purchase the property, they have to hold it and continue to hold it unless they get permission to transfer it. So that means they can't go and lease these properties to oil and gas companies anymore, which unmitigated good news. And then on top of that, the court also said that we can, in addition to damages, we can require them to give the property back. So the question, as it was written in the case, was can you get injunctive relief or damages? Injunctive relief being return the property to the rightful owners. In this case, I guess it would be the owner that had originally leased it out. So that's a whole other question. But again, unmitigated victory on that point that we can get both damages and injunctive relief. Those were the two issues that we had addressed on appeal, and we prevailed on both of them. So I'm really happy to be able to, after long last, bring you this good news, because this has been quite the saga. I've been involved in it for many years, even before the argument. So, to the best of ability, under the circumstances, I'm happy to answer any questions without divulging sort of privileged information, because I know this is a public meeting. So if any of you have questions about what the case was about, what the decision held, I'm happy to give more in depth than just that summary. I will note there's 7 justices on the Ohio Supreme Court. It was a very close decision. It was a 4-3 decision. So 3 of the justices would have ruled against us. They would have not enforced the restriction on who could own the property. So it was a close call, but yeah, as we say in this field, what matters is counting to 4. So we got 4, we got the victory, and I'm happy to be able to report that to you.
Fantastic. Any questions, comments, concerns, complaints? No complaints.
So is there another case that's going to the Supreme Court as well then after this one?
Yes, and that was the next thing I was going to touch on. So there are actually 2 other cases, and they're in sort of different procedural postures. There's one case that also is a Siltstone case. It involved the same identical legal questions. I told you there were 2 questions the court decided. This other Siltstone case also involves those same 2 questions. That case has been held for this one. So what the Ohio Supreme Court will do is, if they've accepted one case and then they get another case that raises the exact same questions, they will hold it. They won't ask for briefing. They won't take any argument. And then they'll wait to see what that first case said. And so there's one case that is held for this one. The usual practice from the Ohio Supreme Court is to issue once the first decision comes out, they'll issue an order that resolves the held cases. And so sometimes they'll ask for additional briefing, but very often they will just say, we take this action on the basis of the earlier decision. So if they would say, well, we'll remand, we find that these 2 issues are the same, so we're going to send it back to the lower courts for application of the first decision, the decision for which the case was originally held. And does that make sense for that one?
Yes.
Mhm.
And then the other case involves the city of Barnesville, and that case was argued back in September of last year. And that, while this Siltstone decision involved 2 questions, the Barnesville case involved 3 questions, 2 of which were identical, one involving the transfer restriction, one involving the remedy. But it also raised a different question about the use restriction, because the deed language in some of these properties is different. And so the deed language in the Siltstone case that was decided in February said that you can't do anything that would be inconsistent with green space park. That was the use restriction. Whereas in the Barnesville case, it says you may only use this for certain conservation activities. And so in that case that is still pending, the Ohio Supreme Court is looking at whether other use restriction should be, whether there was a violation there where the Court of Appeals held there was no violation of the use restriction. So because there's different language, that is a different issue that won't be entirely resolved by this case. And so we're still waiting on a decision. If the 11-month, or the 13-month time frame follows, look for a decision in October of this year, because it was argued in September. And of course, they may decide it sooner. But so that is the other case that is currently pending. I will say, if the decision here should control 2 of the questions in that later case, and so the outcome should be largely the same. But again, it's hard to say what exactly the court will do. But I will say that this is still a very good sign for that case.
I have a question.
Yep.
On case 2, which is supposedly the one that was held based on case 1, how long does it usually take for them to make a decision on that type of case?
It's hard to say. I can't speak to exactly how long it takes because I don't know exactly the process, how they currently handle it. Oftentimes, it's a month or two after the decision because what will have to happen is the court will have to look at the cases that are held and make a decision about what they think the original case, uh, how it affects those. And so that the court has to say, all right, we'll go through each of these cases that were held, look at look at the decision that came out. What do we think it means for this specific case? And so, um, I would expect 2 to 3 months. And so it could really come any time, but the court's busy with other things right now too, getting decisions out and things. So I don't want, I can't really speculate beyond, a few months.
Sam, do you feel like the first case will set the precedent then moving forward for case 2 and potentially case 3 and any maybe future cases?
To the extent I can answer that question, I'd say the court's practice, under the court's standard practice, yes, that would be the case, is typically the court sides the one and that becomes the precedent for future cases. Without speculating too much about what the court will do, I'd say that the answer is yes, that's standard practice.
Okay, and then in layman's terms, because we're not, at least I'll just speak for me, I'm not an attorney. So a lot of these legal terms, injunctive relief, can you explain what that means for us at Ohio Public Works Commission? With the result of the first case, what are we recouping or what are we getting out of that as a win?
That I am unable to answer right now because the way this case sort of got to the Ohio Supreme Court is it was thrown out in the trial court very early on. And so there's still some litigation that needs to happen surrounding the specific remedy.
Okay.
What I will say is that in this decision, the Ohio Supreme Court held that we can get injunctive relief, which is often transfer of the property back or some other sort of equitable relief, and that we would also be entitled to seek liquidated damages, which is what was also in the deed. And so I can't tell you specifically beyond that because there's much left to do, and I'm going to hand this case off to very capable attorneys in the executive agencies section who have worked on it from the beginning, and they've done a great job. So the answer to your question will probably come in, few weeks, or not weeks, few months, maybe, and once they have a chance to go back and litigate those questions.
Okay, yeah, I was just curious if we were trying to get the property back and then liquidated damages, I'm assuming that means monetary, like we would be getting some kind of compensation?
And I can't really speak to some of those questions. Some of those,
Okay,
especially in this public setting,
gotcha.
some of those are going to be privileged conversations.
Sure.
So what I can say is, what the court opinion said is that we can seek both of those things, and then decisions about what exactly to seek will have to be, fleshed out in a more different setting.
Okay, I appreciate that. Thank you.
Yeah, no problem.
Since this was a 4-3 decision, what kind of future discussion do you think might come about as a result of that decision? Do you see that there's any legislative action going to be applied to this?
So one, a 4-3 decision has the same precedential value as a 7-0 decision, and so it is definitely something that we can rely on. Certainly, whether The commission seeks to have legislative action to shore up its interests, whether the oil and gas companies are going to go to the General Assembly and seek to have the statute changed. Those are all possibilities that follow any decision. And so I think what the General Assembly chooses to do is going to depend a bit on what influences are brought to bear at the State House. But I will just say that, for now, this is, even though it's 4-3, it has the same precedential value as any other decision. And so, barring any changes, it would, be the controlling precedent here moving forward.
Sam,
Question.
go ahead.
Yes, avoiding any legislative action that might or might not occur about this decision, since these people are elected periodically and the makeup of the court could change, is there anything that you, as our advisor or the staff, would recommend that we do with our internal procedures to make our case even stronger next time, to respond to the issues raised by the dissent, to try to avoid this in the future by changing our internal, either to deed restrictions or some other language?
And that's another one that I'm going to defer a little bit on the basis that this is a public meeting and I don't want to be in the position of giving any legal advice that wouldn't be privileged. I will say, I think that the dissent didn't fully appreciate some of the arguments we made, and if I could have maybe articulated them differently, we would have brought some of those folks along as well. I'll take that one on myself, but so I don't want to be too critical. But I think that there were a few points that the dissent didn't fully appreciate, and so even under the current language, I think give me another shot at them, and maybe I'll bring them along next time.
Sounds good.
Sam, I think it is safe to say regarding our deed restrictions, our standard deed restrictions are a public document. We have them on our website, that we have, that I have told you that I am looking at potential changes to our standard language. But that's all very preliminary.
Good.
Yeah. But I do want to say, and I appreciate all the questions that Sam, of course, represented us at the Supreme Court level, and that the team that we have worked with over the years, and several of them have moved on to other agencies, other positions, but they have all been phenomenal in their representation and working with us. They are first rate. And so the whole team, and Sam, I cannot express enough my appreciation for getting us here. This is a huge win for conservation, for which I am very, very grateful.
It's been a privilege to work
Thank
on
you.
it, and like you said, Linda, the team that you all had representing you, among others, Christy Limbert and Jim Patterson, and by singling them out, I don't mean to shortchange any of the other folks because it really has been a big team effort. They did a great job to put this case in a position for us to prevail at the Ohio Supreme Court. So I ran the last leg of this relay, but it was really a team effort, and so it's been a privilege to work on this case, and it's nice to be able to bring home a unqualified win like this one. So thank you all, and I really appreciate it.
Thank you, Sam, for your work. Does anybody else have any questions for Sam or Linda regarding legal things?
That's
Thank
it.
you thank you very much for supporting us at the Supreme Court level. Old business.
First of all, the bylaws, as you know, in the January meeting, the There was a slight revision to the bylaws, and those were distributed to everybody. And we need to have those signed. Since we're not meeting in person today, I do not know yet the disposition if we'll be meeting in July. If you want me to work on collecting signatures electronically, if you want to wait until we're back in person, how would you like to proceed on those?
Electronic signatures are fine with me.
Is there anything from the governor's office that would say no to electronic signatures? Or no to having signatures, people signing them at home and sending them back in?
Not that I'm aware of. We sign our project agreements electronically, so not that I'm aware of. I
I would say,
couldn't,
oh, go ahead, I'm sorry.
I couldn't find anything on that, so as far as I know.
I mean, I would say if everybody's okay with electronic signatures, we can move forward with that.
Fine with me.
Do you all want to just submit them independently, or do you want me to go to each member and collect them so that they're together, or how would you like me to proceed?
I would like for you to proceed in the way that is easiest for you and most efficient for you.
What Joy said,
Well, I'm okay with collecting them individually. You all have the bylaws if you just want to submit them, and I can consolidate them for the record.
perfect.
So Linda, I was not at the January meeting, and quite honestly, I don't remember receiving bylaws. I probably did. Could you send that out again, whatever it is you want me to sign?
Yeah, I thought I had attached them to the meeting invite. But
Oh,
yes, I can resend,
You
certainly.
did, but that was March, so that might be, there's a little time lag there.
I
But
will,
really, it's April.
I will resend them.
So I got
Linda,
a
I have
question.
an,
Oh,
oh,
I'm sorry.
I'm sorry.
No, just a
Go ahead,
question on
Dee.
the signature parts. Since we did vote in the meeting to approve them, that's, I guess, officially what happened. Then we're signing it just for, I guess, visual, but I guess you're not really doing a digital signature. You're doing a scanned, you're doing you're not doing an electronic signature. You're doing a scanned image of a signature. Is that what you're collecting?
Yes, if you are able to sign digitally, I think some people, if you have a tablet and you have a pen and you can sign them that way and send them to me, or you do a print and scan, whatever is easiest for all of you, to get that to me, that's fine.
Okay, so it's not like a DocuSign where
No,
they have some signature that I have to accept. And
no, I
you want
don't.
our signature.
No, we don't have anything like that. So it would just be your scan, or like I said, if you can sign on a tablet and send that image, or whatever's easiest for all of you, each of you.
and I just fax you a signature?
We don't have fax capability, so I'm sorry, but
I have no idea. Okay,
we can take a PDF electronically, of course.
I'll figure it out.
But yeah, our fax bit the dust a while ago. So, Allie?
Yeah, just to clarify, do you want us to physically sign the last page of this document and return that to you, or just send you a signed, just an image of our signature? Because there are no signature lines on the document. I just want to
There
clarify.
isn't. And I looked at what was done in the past, and I think what happened in the past was at the meeting, someone just passed around a blank piece of paper and everybody signed that blank piece of paper, from what I could tell. So if
Hey,
it would be
Linda,
easier for all of you just to send it to each one in turn and collect that, and then someone signs it next, but I don't know what all of your individual capabilities are.
Linda, would it be okay if you created a signature page that has a line for, and then our name? Only because I will say my signature does not look like anything legible. So just for future generations to know when we pass the bylaws, a Sandra line, a Joy line, a Hallie line, et cetera, et cetera. And then you could send it out to us, and then we could send it back with our signature. fax, email, not fax, email,
Okay.
passenger pigeon, whatever works best for everybody. Is that okay with everybody else? Then there's a actual document with our names and our signatures. Super legal.
In that case, why don't I send it to you each in turn and just keep it going? I get it to you, sign it, return it to me, and I'll just power it out and then get it to the next person, and then I've got them all on one page. Okay.
Perfect. Thank you.
Okay.
Fine.
Thank you.
And then I guess my question would be for future documents, we'd probably just want to have the signature page ready to go at the board meetings.
Right. And I think the reason that we didn't do that is because we did have a revision. But yes, and I don't know that of course you have to be present to sign the bylaws. I don't believe that was a specification that you have in the bylaws. But yes, absolutely. I'll get this taken care of and get that started for you. Okay.
Thank you.
Uh,
Go ahead.
Oh, no, go ahead. The second item, small
I'm gonna
government.
say small government reappointments.
So you may recall that in the January meeting, we had several of reappointments, and one of the responsibilities of this body is to appoint and reappoint members to the Small Government Commission who preside over the small government program, which is a second chance for infrastructure when communities, rural townships, less than 5,000 population villages that are not funded at the district level can apply to the statewide small government program for infrastructure projects. And that is the purpose of that body. Jennifer Klein is our small government administrator, and she makes the recommendations to that body for funding. They are next meeting on May 12th, and these are our last two reappointments, Mark Zimmerman and Sam Alonso, and they'll be ready to go on May 12th with your approval of their reappointments.
Linda,
Yes.
if
Yes.
we reappoint these two individuals, will there be any vacancies left on this commission?
No, this will be it for a little while.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Does anybody have any other questions? I'm sorry, Paul, were you making a motion?
I was moving that we approve the two individuals just named for this particular commission.
Is there a second?
I'll second, but I do have a question. Weren't these names, didn't we approve these at the last meeting?
Not Mark and Sam, not in January. We had other members who were reappointed in January.
Okay.
Are you still seconding, Dean?
I'm still seconding, yeah.
Okay, thank you. This will have everybody up to speed.
All in favor, say aye.
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 Same sign. All right. And these people, I think, should be noted, are really our people who are seeing everything that's happening that we're doing and then reporting back to you and Abby and everyone. So I think they're a crucial piece of the OPWC puzzle.
I was the administrator for 14 years, and I gave this position and gave it to Jen to administer recently. And I loved working with small government. It is just a great, it's just great that you're helping so many communities, small communities that can ill afford these projects, and they are so appreciative. And the commission, the Small Government Commission, they are just a dedicated group, and they love it as much as we do. So it's a good one.
Excellent. All right, law changes.
Okay, you will recall at the January meeting that I had summarized proposed law changes to Chapter 164 of the revised code. They would primarily benefit the Clean Ohio Conservation Program, yet provide some minor cleanup elsewhere in the chapter. The proposed changes to the conservation program, they were intended to address matters that have been problematic for myself and our staff, our NRACs, for administration. You may remember that there were really 3 items that were of concern to us that we wanted to address. The first one was hydromodification. The word hydromodification, nowhere else in the Ohio Revised Code, only in Chapter 164. And it has caused a lot of confusion over the years. And we talked about that at the meeting, talked about whether we have substitute language or just eliminate it. This body, all of you instructed me just eliminate and don't propose anything in its place. So that was a part of that. The second Clean Ohio conservation item was to provide that nonprofit organizations who apply for funds, they must be environmental and conservation organizations to ensure that these nonprofits were formed to protect these interests and not in conflict with the program. And then finally, as recommended by the Ohio Attorney General's office, to clarify that the Ohio Public Works Commission can provide technical assistance to save our applicants from expending unnecessary resources for potential projects, which the director may ultimately deny due to ineligibility. So that was at our January meeting. And after meeting with you, I identified a legislative vehicle, House Bill 397, for an amendment, and a very gracious sponsor, Senator McCauley of District 1. I testified early last month before Senate Agriculture and Natural Resources. Our amendment was fully supported, and amended substitute House Bill 397 was delivered to the governor yesterday for signature. So we are very excited, and I will soon be having a meeting with our district liaisons and sharing this with them, and we will be making updates to our website accordingly. So this is good news, very good news.
Sent to the
Question.
governor and signed? Or to be signed?
The governor, it's been sent to the governor for signature. That was yesterday.
So it hasn't done, okay.
Yeah, but it's through it's through the House and the Senate, and we identified that vehicle purposely because it had already been through the House and was already in the second chamber. So. Are there questions about that?
One question about these environmentally related nonprofits. Is that a particular IRS 501c something or other, or how are those nonprofits defined?
They're 501c3s per statute. They're 501c3s, but the way the law was written previously, even though it was fully believed that that was the intent, that only applied to conservation organizations, it wasn't always taken that way, and there have been organizations that were accepted into the program previously, and we just wanted to clean that up to make sure that the emphasis is raise the bar to make sure
raise the bar,
emphasis,
right.
yes, exactly. Another step to protect the program.
Any other questions or comments? Well, great work. Thank you, Linda.
Thank you.
That's
Very
nice
happy
to see
about
it
that.
moving along.
Yeah.
I see no other old business. Is there any new business?
The only thing that I would like to mention is that I think some of you are aware it's that time of the biennium, the capital season, operating being this time last year, so now it's spring and of the even numbered year, so we're in capital season. The biennial reappropriations bill, which is House Bill 597, was signed by the governor, and this legislation extends appropriation balances from this biennium into the next 2 years, beginning July 1st, so that we can continue to pay on projects not yet completed. Regarding new capital appropriations, we've been informed just this week, actually, to expect a capital bill to be introduced within the next couple of weeks. And we will wait to hear then if we are to request to provide any testimony about that. And we have no reason to believe, from everything we understand, that that will be on the fast track and we'll have that in place by the end of the fiscal year.
'Tis the season. Anyone else have anything? Any deep thoughts, concerns, comments? I will say that I was at the State House and ran into Pat Gannetti, who used to be the president of this organization and is still the Mahoning County engineer. And he says hello to everybody, if you remember him, and that he misses us all and would love to come back. So put that in your back pocket, Linda.
I would love to have him back. I have high regard for him. Yes,
I told him we would welcome him with open arms.
absolutely. But
Does
we have a
anybody-
full commission.
I know, that's what I said. I'm like, you never believe it. Anybody have anything else? Thoughts, comments, concerns, questions? All right. If
I
Yes.
have something here. I just want to introduce myself. I'm Mitch Blackford. I'm with the Ohio Department of Transportation. So with the retirement of Pam Best-Borton, our Chief of Staff a couple weeks ago, I'm happy to represent our ODOT Director, Jack Marchbank. So, you know, I know a little bit about Ohio Public Works Commission. I'm happy to be a part of this team here.
welcome. Thank you very much. If I hear nothing from anyone else, I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
Are we going to?
Move to adjourn.
Actually,
Oh, wait.
just one thing. Are we going to try to have the next meeting in person?
Yeah, I wanted to ask all of you about that actually. So the virtual comes to an end the end of June, and our next scheduled meeting is July. I know that last year, I think it was last year, that your bylaws state to meet at least twice a year, but we schedule 4 meetings, the second Thursday of the first month of every quarter. So that meeting would be July 14th. I know that meeting tends to be canceled for lack of business. So I did not know if you wanted to keep that one on the books for now and to see if anything comes up for the July meeting. If you wanted to move that meeting up to the end of June while we still have the availability for a virtual, whatever is the pleasure of the body.
Oh, I like moving it up to the end of June just in case. That's not a horrible idea. And we can always cancel it if there's no serious action, and then we can wait till October. Is everyone
June
okay with that?
28th? June 28th or June 21st?
I will, both of those dates are fine for me.
Well, actually, it's both those dates are problematic for me. So I guess we'll have to maybe wait and see if we even need to have a meeting.
Do you have another offer, Dean?
No, I mean, I'm good for the current July meeting, but I know that I'm okay in person. Linda
Why
may
don't we
still.
keep July, then let's keep July on the books, because that's when we always meet, and that's, I think, what it says on the website, and that's what everybody, that's what I have on my calendar. And then Linda will let us know if anything is pressing and it may end up getting canceled anyway. Sound good?
That's-
Yeah, I like that better because June, the end of June doesn't work for me.
Perfect. July it is.
Yeah, I'm holding that July date.
I thought maybe I'll also mention to you, and thank you, I'll keep that there. I just wanted to let you know that Abby, our CFO, of course, who is on here with us, she and we were in Columbus on Tuesday, and we did our final inspection of the new space for the Public Works presence downtown, and we looked at that on Tuesday. It looks pretty good, and with just a few adjustments to be made. And so we're officially if we're not teleworking. Our new location has been blessed and ready to go should anybody need it. And I know you really love, and thanks to Ken for his graciousness for letting us meet in person at the offices of OWDA. But they're even researching if they're able to acquire a larger conference table for us, so that if we did want to ever meet in the offices, which is they're in the Rife, it's in the Rife building on High Street, High and State, that we would have that availability. But I know that parking isn't as easy as it is at the offices of OWDA.
It's good to have options.
It's good to have options, absolutely.
All right, anything else? We will see you all maybe July, maybe not July. I entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Thank you. Thank you. So long.
Thank you, everybody. Have a great one.
Thank you all.